Humanist Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Humanist Podcast once more with yo host. It is the big fat Warhammer himself, me, and by my side we have Steph.
Hello there.
Hello, Steph.
What a day to be alive. Or what a time to be alive, rather.
Beautiful time. Beautiful time to be alive.
You
The weather
know,
is dark. The sun
yeah.
has not come up for what? Or it's come up, but it's like 2 hours a day.
Yeah,
For
if
a month
that.
now. If that. It's been raining constantly. It's the warmest December for it's the warmest year ever or since record was begun in Norway. I think 2020 is.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. But I don't really mind the temperature, though. I think the temperature is quite nice, but, it's just something about, since, with warm winters come the cloudiness and it just amplifies the dark, because at least the snow offsets it and lights it up a little bit. But now it's if it's an overcast day, it's literally dark 24/7.
I know, and there's no reflection because there's no snow, so
Yeah,
it's just like a gloomy, humid darkness, a dank darkness even.
but not in the
So-
good way, like we
No.
worship here on the Humidus podcast.
So we've actually been infused with dankness all day, and now we come to unload.
And what a big load it is, too.
I guess I kind of set that up.
Yeah, you did.
Poignantly for you. Yeah, but today in all seriousness, we're going to cover exciting topics. Cyberpunk reviews 2077 has come out from at least some creators, and it's been a little bit mixed, not like negative, but it's got some criticism.
Yeah.
We're going to go through that and talk a little bit about what we think, even though, of course, we have not tried it yet, based on what other people say, I guess.
Yeah, I so far it's just gonna be about like the general consensus of what we see from the reviews that are out. But
Yeah.
I think our, at least, first impressions kind of review will be out by the next episode, because of course I'm getting the game at launch. I assume you'll get it soon as well, and we'll go through different paths, and we'll try and have some proper discussion from our own impressions then. But for now,
Yeah, I think that we'll make like an episode of that.
definitely.
Like a very in-depth type of thing. But we're also going to talk a little bit about the fact that HBO actually is going to be delivering on-demand Warner Brothers IP.
Yeah, they
which
are.
is very, very nice.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it heralds kind of the beginning of the end for cinema, I guess. I don't know.
hopefully not.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hopefully not.
it's a dangerous path for us who actually enjoy the cinematic experience. But yeah, very exciting times in a lot of ways, both positive and negative.
Yeah. So how you holding up in these dark times? You've been playing some games lately? Something exciting? Or
Well, I'm still freaking neck deep into Yakuza Like a Dragon. I'm trying to get that done before Cyberpunk comes out, because I know that when it comes out, it's all gonna be about Cyberpunk until it's done.
yeah.
But Yakuza is also such a good game, and I'm enjoying it so much that I want to, like, I don't want to be stuck in that. All right, I play it, but then something else exciting comes out, and then you just never get back to the first game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So I want to actually get the game done before I start Cyberpunk, because, like, so far among the launch lineups, for me, Yakuza Like a Dragon just, like, blew me away. I've laughed so much and had such a good experience with it so far.
Yeah. Do you feel that it's like it manages to continue that pace of humor and good content now that you're so deep in?
Yeah, it does. Because this game delivers more on the humor than the previous games. I feel, at least the ones I
Mm.
played, which is Zero, Kiwami, Kiwami 2, and 6. Um, and this game, since it has new characters and everything, they're a little bit more free to explore a more goofy side as well. But especially in the sub stories, the goofiness is like ramped up, and it's a lot of fun. All the enemy types are fun. I can't. Whenever I meet a new enemy type, there's a pretty decent chance I'll laugh at their name or their looks or whatever. You
Yeah.
know. So, and the RPG mechanics are fun. It's they're it's really solid as well. In terms of like turn-based combat and actually incorporating the Yakuza themes into that kind of system. So great game, absolutely great game. I want to do an in-depth review on it at some point when I'm done, because I'm trying to do all the subquests as well, as much as I can at least.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well,
look forward to that. But it's a warm recommendation already. Just like I think I'm like 30 hours in.
yeah,
Um,
that's quite
so yeah.
impressive actually. 30 hours and you're not done with the main quest or main story.
Oh no, I think the if you look at like some of those average times to beat, it says that main story itself is like over 40 hours, I think. And if you do like a run where you do quite a lot of side stuff as well, it can easily run you 60 plus.
Oof.
So yeah, I have barely scratched the management minigame in this one, which is always a huge time sink in
Okay.
the Yakuza games. Like for example, in Zero, it's the infamous cabaret club and the real estate Royal Rumble or whatever it's called, and then in this one, it's a confectionery.
Okay.
but
Confectionery.
yeah, it's really fun because they take management principles and make it into kind of like this really fun management slash kind of sort of parody battle game, but it's very
Yeah.
deep.
Okay.
So, and it's also the way to earn a lot of like, for example, you can earn a party member, a secret, like sort of secret party member, by completing that entire management storyline, and you also get also the way to get the insane amounts of cash you need to get the end game gear.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's always worth investing in those because they have like rewards that actually impact the rest of the game as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit longer about Yakuza than I intended, but here we
No,
go.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so let's just get right down to it. Cyberpunk 2077 reviews
Yes, yes,
has been
yes.
coming out from a lot of different outlets,
Yeah,
and yeah, just let's just talk briefly about what people think here. Uh, it seems like most of the outlets or reviewers are very positive, but with a
mm,
little connotation of that there's a lot of bugs in the game.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and you've had some experience with Witcher, you know, also being a little bit like that,
yeah.
at least when it was new.
I think CG Project has a history of this, similar to
Mhm.
kind of Bethesda, where the
Yeah.
games at launch are pretty rough because they usually have pretty substantial ambition for the games. Um, or well, for Bethesda, I guess it's become other things as well. But for CD Projekt, even the first Witcher game that ever came out was like considered a diamond in the rough in its initial offering because like it had a lot of promise, but it had a lot of problems. And then they listened to all the feedback, released the enhanced edition that fixed most of it and revamped the game. They did the same thing for Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. I just think they patched gradually as it, went on.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the game that if you buy Witcher 3 now, it's a very different game than what came out at launch. And considering there's like a 50 gig plus patch for day one on Cyberpunk, I think we can expect And this patch is not implemented in the review copies, as far as I could tell. So expect hopefully that a few of those are gonna, the most major bugs are gonna be ironed out by the time we get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess we'll kind of see the reflection of that in the first user reviews
Yeah, true.
when people get their hands on it. Yeah, and apart from that, what did you feel that the kind of main takeout from people were that played the game?
Well, it seems like many people are very happy with Night City, first of all,
Yeah.
and just like the whole um, that the world is very, very much alive. It's
Hmm.
almost like Night City itself is a protagonist.
Yeah.
Is a lot of I see a lot of people phrasing it that way, and it seems that for um yeah, you have Night City that being like an incredible world to explore,
Hmm.
but then you also have people actually praising the gunplay for being better than they expected. But then the melee being a little bit also what they expected, as in it's a little bit like floaty, not as much impact, but you can still do a full melee only build and everything, if that's your shtick. But it doesn't feel as impactful in terms of like feedback than let's say
As opposed
gunplay.
to the guns. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, I guess that's, I don't know. It's always hard to do melee right in a FPS kind of perspective,
yeah,
and uh, even if when you have RPG elements, also it can be very rough. I remember Deus Ex like solving that by having some of the more powerful melee moves being just a cutscene almost, or not
yeah,
a cutscene, but like a 3D choreographed executable kind of move, where you
yeah,
just take out like three enemies with the you don't really, and that took away a little bit of the weight. um so I can kind of see why that's hard to master or to kind of execute properly.
yeah,
But yeah, and like making it bug free with melee when you're supposed to have like different moves and stuff like that in the first person setting.
hmm
I think it might be a little bit hard. But then again, like some games, master that. So
yeah. There are definitely games out there that I feel are doing it right, such
mhm.
as Dishonored. Well,
Yeah,
mostly Arcane Studios nails this, I feel, for all the way
yeah.
since Dark Messiah until Dishonored and such. Deathloop probably is going to be similar, hopefully.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
there are
when's
ways
that
to do it.
coming out? That's not too long
It got
to
pushed,
release.
it got
It got
delayed,
pushed.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
because of the pandemic. But as far as I can tell, it should be around May.
Okay, so it's quite a ways off then. All right, but back to like so what I've read from the reviews is that everybody's almost not surprised, but they're kind of impressed by how little focus the main story, the main quests has, and
Yeah,
how massive the side quests, the number of side quests and how you know divergent their paths are and how impactful some of them are.
yeah,
It seems like that's kind of the way I guess they wanted you to feel, that it feels almost realistic and alive in a way,
yeah,
because there's so many branching paths and it's just so dynamic and always kind of plays off the main pathway, but still is the main pathway is very, very obscured and optional almost. You can just kind of play the game only doing side quests and still be have a satisfied feel from it.
I I feel like Skyrim for me was much the same way though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because yeah, Oblivion as well. Because first time I went through both of those games, I did almost everything else except the main story for the initial 20 plus hours.
Yeah. But
So
I think that like our role playing games, it's supposed to be like that for
yeah.
me at least. I think that that's the being kind of pushed down a set path.
Hmm.
Always felt is not. I mean, sure you can do that, but in a role playing game, you should be free to just not do that also, and kind of in your own head feel that okay, my guy or gal is on a different path, just doing, this
Yeah.
that I'm doing right now. And when the game can kind of respond to that request from you and give you, something to actually do that feels meaningful, so you don't just go around, hunting like NPC boars or something like that. I'm a
Yeah.
hunter in the woods, some meaningful content that
Yeah.
feels very, dynamic and free, and not holding, you down a main quest. I think that that's a very the hallmark of a good RPG.
I agree. And there's also I don't know if you feel the same way, but I know that you do love grinding.
Hmm.
And just have that kind of you make up your own kind of anime training arc, sort of.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Uh
that's pretty much it. That's pretty much spot on. Yeah.
yeah, and I do like the same, and it's also something about like it's just cooler to show up to the main quest, the storyline that like really matters most, but then you're not just like a newbie completely. You've
No.
experienced shit. You're like already a bit of a grizzled veteran.
Mm,
You have
mm.
your go-to weapons, and like you have
Yeah,
these
yeah,
things. You're prepared. I like that kind
yeah.
of setting too.
You're you're speaking my language here.
Yeah,
That's how I like it, showing up to the boss and maybe he's like mocking you because you're supposed to be a little bit, weak, but that you
yeah,
like grinded out all of the fucking side quests and gain all the maximum gear. Just gotta
yeah.
fuck him up.
You just
That's
use that tracking shotgun and just like blast his face when he least expects it.
hmm
Ah,
Oh, yeah. So yeah, that it seems to be very possible in this game. Um, at least in like the first hours, the reviewers said that it was the number of available quest lines was just increasing insanely rapidly.
yeah.
But then when you kind of reach, like, I don't know, maybe right around the middle, then it plateaus a little bit because you can't kind of grow into the heavens. It can't be exponentially forever.
Well,
Um, yeah.
I'm good with that. Having some form of like limitation depending on how far into the story you are.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
but I also like to be over leveled and over prepared for the current state, like, for like whatever I'm gonna do next. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with not showing up to main story mission number 2 in a Lamborghini.
Yeah. You're like the richest, most pimped out. Yeah, because that takes the fun out of it. I mean, I don't like that either. I like the journey
Yeah,
to get there, but I also like for there to be like some content where you can looks like show off almost and show
yeah,
how powerful you are. Like for instance, let me give an example. In when I play Generals 0 Hour,
yeah,
I usually kind of do a skirmish where I play against hard computers, like just fill up the like 8 versus 7 versus a free for all
hmm,
eight player map with 7 hard computers. And it's fucking hard to win those games because it's like a free for all. They just pick a random enemy to go at, and they have like more money than you and stuff.
yeah,
So
exactly.
but they're dumb, so you can exploit their AI-ness. But when I kind of, after a while, eke out a living, and manage to claw my way to victory slowly,
Yeah,
I usually just not kill him off right away. And I'm always China, and I build like a huge amount of nuke silos, like a ridiculous amount of nuke silos. Usually, like filling the other players, the defeated players' bases with nuke silos and power plants, of course, because you need a lot of power to run them.
Yeah.
And then I utterly humiliate the last computer with like, if he like sends out one infantry guy, I'll
Mhm.
like use 5 nukes to just surround that guy and then crush him with one right on the head, you know. So yeah, you can say I like to grind it up and kind of do that overkill.
I mean, yeah. I also have this thing where when it comes to like RPGs and stuff, especially like action RPGs,
Mhm.
these things, where when I'm actually facing a boss or like a significant character antagonist, and when
Mhm.
I have to kill that person, I always kind of like I can't just like burst him down normally. I have to find out some kind of almost cinematic like execution way of making an
Of killing
example.
him, yeah,
Yeah,
using like a limit break or something like that
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
take him
Always,
down. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. And um, I really hope that there are possibilities for that in Cyberpunk as well. And I'm still contemplating
Oh
what
yeah.
kind of build I'm gonna do because even though the melee seem a little bit like, yeah, it seems a little bit floaty, but you're also dismembering nerds like left and right. So I'm thinking
And I
maybe
f-
that's still fun.
yeah, and the fact that you can have like augment your body with all these crazy technologies, you know, the
Yeah,
dystopian future technologies, I feel that that lends credence to how a melee type of fighter could have worked, you know,
yeah,
especially in like a city type environment where it's not a military, you know, simulation where range is always a very big factor. And
yeah.
you know, you know, I love 40K, but it's not realistic to have like a lot of melee in a modern fighting environment.
Unless you have cataphractii armor,
Oh yeah,
where you
of
can
course,
like close that distance without worrying too much about normal ordnance hitting you. You know.
of course, and you have like the personal halos and stuff like
Yeah,
that, the like personal void shields.
yeah,
Yeah, then of course you can. Oh, but I mean, still, if you have a personal void shield, you don't have the need to kind of walk over and smash the other guy in the head. You can just stand there and shoot him, you know?
yeah. But
So
it's more fun to just like crack him in
it's
mid
more
head.
fun. It's more fun. It's more fun. Yeah, I mean 40K aside, of course 40K. I love how they they justify the melee, but in this game it seems like they can also make like a very compelling melee setting.
Yeah,
You know,
I
being
agree.
like a gangster in yeah metropolitan type of fighter.
But do you also think that I also get that thing where I do always enjoy being up close and personal, even though I do love my guns. But the thing is, like, it's just something about having that, like, you just pretend that you have this, like, blood rage kind of character and you just, like, bum rush everybody and just, like, slice them up at your, like, so fast and unpredictable that you manage to just, like, um, just plow through and avoid bullets.
Yeah, yeah, and like you can take a little bit of damage, you know, like it's
Yeah.
some stray hits here and there, but you're so fast that by the time you've taken those hits, you're already up and at, you know, throat ripping range.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I love that too. And like the, you know, how the Hulk is typically depicted, like kind of just so fast and strong that you're just stunned and overwhelmed, and then you're
Yeah,
dead.
and he creates so much chaos around him that it disorients the people that are at range as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but Hulk also has that kind of he also has that perk where most things just don't phase him. He just becomes more
yeah,
angry.
yeah.
So, I'm just curious to see how far you can cybernetically enhance yourself. Because I
Hmm.
assume that's going to be a factor in a melee build for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Except, yeah,
I'll have to see. I don't know. I haven't decided. I'm just gonna explore. I'm just gonna go with the thing that feels more natural when I get to choose.
yeah, of course. And this is definitely a game where you do several playthroughs, I'm sure, to try out different builds and stuff. And that's what Young said as well, because he did, like, apparently he did a stealth playthrough where
Hmm.
he did like insane amounts of crit damage by plotting headshots with a pistol from stealth, and he would just like
Ooh.
one tap people to the head like left and right, absolutely wrecking nerds from the shadows. So
Hmm.
so that's also that's also a possible way of doing it. And I'm just wondering, like, I hope that every kind of build is sort of viable, and I understand that hacking is apparently this game's type of magic.
Yeah, because everything's like digitally controlled. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But it's creative way to implement it. I
yeah.
feel that. Yeah.
And instead of spell slots, you have RAM.
Is it a fact?
Yeah, it's true.
Oh,
It's
okay, that's
you,
hilarious. That's
it's literally RAM.
hilarious.
Yeah. So you just like you can cybernetically enhance yourself so that you can increase your or expand your RAM capacity and like the rate at which it recovers and all these things.
Jesus. But that's cool. I like that. And I mean, in a very digitalized, integrated future, that could
Yeah.
be halfway, realistic.
Yeah. But I think
uh,
it's still possible that the melee will be improved upon in the future because CD Projekt Red has, like I said earlier, a history of you know improving the games after they come out as well. And even for Witcher 3, they added, like, as a free update, they added, for example, more combat finishers. Those like cool execution brutal moves that Geralt does. So there's a lot of things that could potentially happen post launch, in terms of that as well.
yeah,
And
yeah, I'm
yeah.
excited.
Mm.
I am excited.
I also did see some negatives about representation in certain areas. Like, for example, apparently the way they depict trans is not
Hmm.
exactly very tasteful in some cases. And then there's also, like, apparently some backlash regarding representation of certain ethnic groups in terms of gangs and
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, as someone who's not in either of those groups, it's not going to be as prevalent for me. But
No.
I can kind of see, you know, I can understand their point of view as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure. I mean, it's not for us to decide because we will not be offended,
yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
but also, I feel that those who are not, in the category of being offended should not be too vocal about it either. I mean, let the people being offended decide if they're offended by it or
Yeah,
not.
yeah. But it's
Um,
worth knowing, because like it's worth being prepared for that. There have been some backlash regarding these things, and that's why, like,
yeah,
um, you might want to prepare for it if you. It's
yeah.
worth knowing at least.
Project Red, CD Project Red? Are they a Polish developer?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Mm, okay. Yeah. Good. Good. Nothing. Nothing. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna say it. Isn't Didn't Poland recently pass like a law that decided that women can't have abortions anymore or something like
Oh
that?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think they're.
with these things there are like contradictions everywhere. So,
Yeah.
but just it's good to know as a heads up, that there are some groups and orientations that are not like that tastefully depicted here. So
Yeah. Yeah, that is worth mentioning
yeah,
because some people will be have their experience a little bit ruined by that.
yeah, and
Did you have like more juicy examples than just a heads up? Did you what?
I mean, there's this whole controversy thing about this thing came out quite early on, but apparently it's still in the game, where there's this depiction of like a trans person. It's like a woman with like a very very visible dick print.
Mm-hmm.
And these things, like, so a lot of the things, the consensus here was that it was kind of over sexualizing and
Too
commodifying.
sexualized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see that point, but it also depends a little bit on how they show the other sexes as well. Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if everybody is depicted this way as sort of like an over sexualized advertising parody, then I guess it's fine. As long as
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
gets the same amount of shit, I'm fine with it. It's like the Filthy Frank show; everybody gets shit. But if it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if
But
it's
that's
just,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah. What you're saying. Yeah. I agree with that. But I think that some people think that since that's an exposed group that kind of tries to get away from that image, that maybe they want to be more normalized,
yeah,
that's kind of and that's not healthy for the trans image worldwide, maybe.
I
Something like
agree.
that. I can see the criticism, but I also feel that, yeah, if there are to be like 100% respected and 100% equalized, then it shouldn't be a problem, because men and women are also sexualized all the time, in media. So yeah,
Yeah, true. So we'll see. I mean,
they're straight, in
as
straight sexual contexts. Yeah.
yeah. So all I know is that, like, I've seen at least a couple of like major reviews mention on this, and having them say that it did disappoint them. Like, for example, Polygon's review is essentially focusing quite a bit on this, but
Yeah.
so I guess it might be significant for some, but like they also say that your mileage may vary, and
Hmm.
that's the ultimate thing for this. But it's good to
Yeah.
be aware of.
Be aware of that, and also, you know, about minorities might be a little bit badly depicted in,
Yeah,
what was like. Is it the gangs or poor and criminal people? Because everybody's a
gangs, I think.
criminal.
Yeah,
Yeah, gangs. Okay. Yeah. So, are we gonna go on to the HBO streaming service?
yeah. Let's do it.
Are we done with
But
Cyberpunk? Yeah.
to just like do a quick wrap up on Cyberpunk, it's kind of what
Sure.
we expected, I suppose. Like, buggy but a fantastic game, and it's probably gonna be better with
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
And expect
Yeah.
our in-depth review at some point in one of the
It,
following episodes.
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very. I'm very excited
Yeah, me too.
to play it. Okay, so the next topic was, like I mentioned before, HBO is going to be delivering Warner Brothers IP, and yeah. What do you think about this stuff?
This is interesting because since they are essentially dropping the all the cinema release movies on demand the same day as it's released in cinemas. So but I also understand that it's not like what Disney Plus has been doing. Like, they charge what, $30 for Mulan,
Hmm.
in addition to the subscription, because that's like horrible anchor pricing. But for this one, I understand it's just part of the HBO Max subscription,
Yeah.
which I think is an insane deal. Um, some of the movies there are like movies that I might not go see in the cinemas, but are still kind of curious about. Like, for example, the new Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman 1984. Then we have movies like, I feel like I would have seen them. I'm gonna see them in the cinema regardless. Like, for
Yeah.
example, Dune. Dune is like my
Oh yeah.
absolute top expected movie, and I was so bummed that it was pushed a year.
Gotcha.
But and then you have movies like Conjuring, which is horror movies are also good to see in the cinema, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
Matrix 4, I depending on reviews, I might see it on demand instead of cinema. But
Yeah. That is such a like coin flip with Matrix 4. It might be really good, and it might be like really shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to tell,
But
but yeah, I I am on the side of Chris Stuckman, the movie reviewer on YouTube, on this one, as in like, even though they say that it's pandemic rules, as in it's gonna affect only 2021, it is one of those things where once the cat's out of the box, it's hard to get it back in there.
yeah, I feel so too. I think that
Yeah,
this is, I don't know, it's trending in a certain direction.
yeah,
And cinema sales have been steadily going down on blockbusters, and yeah, just generally throughout the Western Hemisphere. So
has it?
yeah, I think
Nice.
the sales are not like the real big franchises. They're still performing, but like
Yeah.
all overall, like cinema visits.
I see. I see.
So
Oh man, I don't know. I don't want cinemas to close because going to the cinema is still an experience I very much enjoy, and I would still be doing actively if it wasn't for the pandemic. So I hope it's not going away.
no, let's hope not, because I mean that's, at least for us, like a very romantic. You have some romantic feelings. I remember going with my dad to like see the first, or the prequels, the Star Wars prequels.
Oh
That was
yeah,
like a thing, and Lord of the Rings. Very like huge movies that really you kind of carry with you.
yeah,
That first experience, seeing them in the cinema with yeah, all the bass just thrumming through your chest, and
mm.
the giant spectacle of Middle Earth just
Oh yeah,
panning. That's you don't forget that, and especially when you're like a kid and your dad takes you like, "Come on, little guy, let's go to the movies."
yeah.
That's like, yeah,
I
that's a
absolutely
good
agree.
thing.
I have. I didn't have. Let's say we replaced the Star Wars movies with Harry Potter because
Yeah.
since I'm a little bit younger than you, then at that time, um, I mean, I didn't really know much about Star Wars by the time Episode One came out. I just remember Darth Maul looking cool, but I didn't know, and then I didn't see Star Wars until like I was maybe 8 or something, 7 or 8 probably. I saw it at a friend's place. He had like the VHS collection of the original trilogy, and
Hmm.
I was absolutely immersed. But then for Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, especially the second and third Lord of the Rings, because the first one I remember my parents didn't let me watch, and then I managed to kind of convince my dad to rent it on Showtime, like our
Yeah,
blockbuster.
yeah, yeah. I was about to mention that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
and this was back in, I guess, 2001 or something. So I was still relatively pretty young, and he was like, "Oh man, like fuck this kind of movie." Blah blah. He was really negatively um skewed, and then it turned out the movie was a lot better than he expected, and we both ended up becoming fans from it, and have since
yeah.
watched the trilogy together.
Yeah.
But Harry Potter 1, seeing that in the cinema, just like blew me away. That was such a great experience.
But let me ask you one thing though. Was
Yeah.
it with the English speech, or was it with the Norwegian one?
Uh I we did the subtitled one, the with the English
You did
speak.
the subtitle. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's important, because I remember my friend's kid brother.
Yeah.
He was like insanely in Harry Potter, especially like the first couple of movies.
Yeah.
And since I've been reading the books, I was, like you said, older than you. And I feel
Yeah.
that at least the first two movies was a little bit too like childish for me.
True.
And especially with the Norwegian, you know, uh, dub, because it's
Oh, so
so
bad.
bad. It's so
Yeah.
hilariously bad. And
It doesn't work at all.
the kid brother of my friend, he was like always watching it when we were at his house on DVD, because he had a DVD player even
Yeah.
back then, and was just constantly on in the background with the Norwegian dub, and it was so bad. I
Yeah.
remember being almost traumatized by that, so I fucking hated the Norwegian dub.
Yeah, I don't know. For my case, I always, even as a kid, I always opted for the English audio because, like, I was really interested in learning English from an early age.
Yeah.
So I always opted for that, like, because it's just Norwegian. Norwegian doesn't, for me, it doesn't work in dramatic settings. It works for comedy. It works for like
It worked for comedy.
it works
Yeah,
great for comedy, but
yeah,
it's like, and not to say it's a ridiculous language or anything, but it lends itself very well to subtle comedy.
yeah.
But whenever they try to be serious, I cannot get immersed. It's very few movies in Norwegian, whether it's like natively Norwegian or not, that I managed to get invested into. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
English.
I kind of understand what you mean, but I think that at least like the Lord of the Rings books,
Yeah,
the way that that's adapted to Norwegian, like using very old Viking esque expressions to match the setting, I feel that that's very well done. And
I
so
agree.
yeah,
And but that's all. That also has the benefit of being, we're not talking about the kind of like Assassin's Creed Valhalla kind of Viking expressions. It's not really like that. It's
oh no,
more of like it feels more like a primal kind of how to say, it's very kind of like,
it's just well done. It's just
yeah,
not too over the top. It's used correctly. Like words like log, nod,
yeah, yeah.
and
Very niche word there.
yeah, but like they just use the right words
Yeah,
from old Norwegian, and you get that kind of ancient, fantasy world vibe from it
yeah,
that
yeah,
just fits
exactly.
the Lord of the Rings.
I agree.
And yeah, so I feel that's a way you can use the Norwegian language. But yeah, in a modern like setting, it doesn't let it's not as expressive and diverse, I feel, as English. And
Yeah,
just when you understand it, it just sounds a little bit, unprofessional or something like that. Just yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you have those occasional ones like Ice Age, for example, which has like
Yeah, but that's comedy
yeah,
again.
exactly, exactly, and it's comedians that are playing the roles, and in those cases, I felt like they were very natural, and it wasn't jarring at all.
No, yeah.
But you know, most other things, just like, it sounds very immersion breaking.
Yeah. But I think that it does have something to do with us being native to the language. So
Yeah, maybe,
we just
maybe,
feel that, I don't know. I feel that I always think about that when watching anime,
yeah,
when, some character has this ridiculous name for an attack,
yeah,
and just in Japanese, and they just exclaim like kind of Dark Ball Giga Destructor, something like that. And it sounds so fucking cool in Japanese, but I wonder if Japanese people feel the same way, that it sounds a little bit goofy when when they just say that in Japanese. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I have a small note to that, because what I noticed is that, because I have quite a few Japanese friends that are also very into anime, and I've always discussed with them about, like, because katakana Japanese peeves me to no end. It means like whenever they, and it's used extensively in anime, and that what that means is like the Japanglish wording when they say like Hisatsu Little Boy and shit like that,
Yeah, right.
Fireborto and
Yeah,
that shit, like those kind of
yeah,
things. And for me, it sounds fucking dumb as hell.
yeah,
And the Japanese ones sounds much cooler. But for them, they're always surprised when I say that I find that the katakana Japanese sounds dumb. They're like, oh, I thought it sounded kind of cool. I'm like, all right, I guess that's about full circle to what you said about being native to the language.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, it's the opposite, just the opposite effect.
Yeah,
That's why they incorporate the English, because they feel that that's much cooler.
yeah.
Uh,
It's very
you,
strange
yeah,
how that works.
we Westerners feel that that's the most goofy thing. But I guess that I just kind of over the years accepted that I guess Japanese culture romanticizes at least American culture a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And a lot of the anime themes are centered around American tropes and cultural nods here and there.
Yeah.
You can kind of find it here and there. Probably because of World War II and that type of influence, like post-war influence.
I mean, because American culture was one of the first culture that broke into Japan and forced it open, or like after they got forced open by Commodore Perry, like one of the first cultures they were exposed to was, of course, Western and especially American culture, and they were fascinated by that back then. So that makes sense. It really does.
I mean, it's very interesting what you just said, that the Japanese guys are like, yeah, that sounded kind of cool. but then they feel that the Japanese is the goofy way to say. But
yeah, I mean, for them, like, for example, if you say stuff like "Zenryoku de ikuse," stuff like that, which means like let's go full power, I mean, to us that sounds kind of cool, but then for them, that just they'll immediately be like, "Oh, you're an otaku, aren't you?" And I'm like, guilty as charged, I guess."
Yeah.
Not that I say that just haphazardly in normal conversations, but it's like, just got to get that disclaimer out there, but still,
it's not your go-to line, like right before you're about to go on like a hot girl.
I think if you say that you'll, and especially as a foreigner, you'll probably get a good chuckle. I think it'll work, but you have to say it ironically. You cannot say it like ironically, because that's when you blew it.
Yeah,
but it has a time and place. It can be used for comedic effect.
Sure.
Just time and place, time and place and ways of saying.
Imagine that in Norwegian, though. How goofy that would sound. Like, full styrke, her kommer jeg.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think there's a time and place for that.
Just the fucking her kommer jeg. Oh no! I think you'd get, if you say that, it's such an unnatural line to say to begin with in Norwegian. So I feel like even saying that, you'd probably also get a chuckle because you can't say that seriously.
Yeah, I mean that's an ultimate 10 out of 10 baller move. Imagine you've scored this 10 out of 10 super hot rod, and you manage to get her home, and right before you're commencing the act, you're just saying that with a straight face. Oh my god. So what were we talking about again?
It was something about I think we started it with cinematic experiences, like keeping cinemas.
Yeah. Sure.
Jesus Christ, that was a trip. But yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, Showtime, which is our blockbuster, where I remember going in there with my dad, and we'd seen the prequels. I think the third installment of the movie, that the episode 6 was not out yet. But then I saw this VHS set with the first trilogy, and oh my god, I was like, Dad, there's like, are there more movies? I mean, I didn't know that because the prequels start at square one basically. I knew it, but I didn't know that they were really good. I imagined them being just really old and bad,
Yeah.
So, and the effects being really outdated and stuff like that.
Right.
And I remember begging my dad for it, and it was really expensive. It was almost like $100 for the box set.
Damn.
Yeah, because it was like a special edition something, with the I guess it was the original episode 4 that was, and the remastered one, which was a re-edited and retouched one with the, I think it's like the 3D job, or something like that. I don't really know, but it was like a special edition including both versions,
Right.
and some artwork and stuff on the box. And but it was expensive, but my dad he never did that. He just straight out bought it,
Oh.
like for $100. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. He just straight up bought it, and like, you're gonna get this education, this important education, son.
I was like, he was a fan to begin with.
Yeah, he was a fan for sure.
I
He was
see.
a fan. I mean, he grew up on those movies, as a kid, so, or didn't grow up on them, but enjoyed those movies. And so so we just straight up bought them. And I remember I watched the crap out of those VHSs, and I loved the first 3 movies. I even back then I felt that they were better than the prequels, even though I never hated the prequels, like, the typical meme, oh, the prequels are so fucking bad.
Yeah.
But I never did, because that those were my movies growing up. But I still preferred the original trilogy because it was so good. Even with the outdated effects, it still held up beautifully, and it just smashed it out of the water. So I remember watching those movies all the time, and even faking being sick from school just to kind of have a day off and watch Star Wars, because that's what I did when I was home.
Yeah.
Sick from school. That was making toast in our waffle. What is a waffle press? Waffle iron?
Waffle iron.
Yeah. So I used to make toast in the waffle iron with the very grainy bread.
Oh yeah, but that shit's good though.
It was excellent. It was excellent.
Yeah.
A good childhood.
Yeah. No good childhood without it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. But I think that covers about what we feel about the new. We don't want cinema to go away. Okay.
Absolutely not.
I mean, HBO, sure, just do Warner Bros. Content, but still have the grand release on the cinema.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to see Marvel movies in the cinema. Just like, there's something about that expectation. You go into a new Marvel movie and you hear that Marvel intro, blasting on that full screen with the sound system. I have so many fond memories of that from Japan as well when I lived there. Going there with the boys and always catching the new Marvel movie at the gigantic, expensive cinemas they had there. I was just like, oh man, I still want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
All right, people, you've heard it here. Don't kill cinema, and stay humid, of course.
And stay dank.